Okay, so right here we have 2 nuts and 1 bolt. All are 17 millimeters. I'm going to break these loose, but I'm not going to quite take them off. I'm going to do that on both sides. This is just so that when I lower the car to pull out the drive shaft, it's going to be easier to undo. So I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm going to break these loose, and then I'm going to lower the car so we can get to the drive shafts. Okay, so I'm going to be using a 3/4 inch deep well socket to take the 4 lug nuts that are holding the wheel on. I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, so now that I got the wheel off, I'm going to remove the safety pin right here that keeps the drive shaft from falling out. Okay, so now that I got that off, I'm going to use a 30 millimeter socket to undo this bad boy. So here you have 2 options. You could either put the wheel back on and take the center cap out so you can get to it, or you can just use a screwdriver and plug it in somewhere so that it doesn't move. I'm going to just plug in the screwdriver right into the brake rotor. Okay, so now they got it off. Remember the 17 millimeter sockets I told you that you should break loose? Right now we're going to remove those. They're just so you can remember they are right in here. There's 1, 2, and then there's a 3rd one right here in the hole. Okay, so then now that I got those three out, I'm gonna pull down this arm right here. Let me get them in here. I'm gonna pull down this arm to get the 2 studs out. Okay, so now that we've gotten this guy out, what I'm gonna do, I guess I'm just gonna try tugging on it. If you yank it hard enough, it should just pop out. So I'm gonna try doing that a few times. If that doesn't work, we'll go try something else. So I ended up using the crowbar to pull this guy out. The other one that I tried pulling out, the first one that I actually showed you on video, actually I'll just show you how that one turned out. The boot popped off, but the thing stayed in, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. I'm going to start installing the drive shafts or CV axles. So this is going to be for the passenger side. If you look at it, the passenger side one is way bigger than the driver's side, but that's just because of how the transmission's set up. So we're going to install this video. We're going to install the passenger side. It's basically the same exact for both sides. So I'll show you how to install one side. Okay, so I got the wheel off. Right under here, there are 3 bolts. There's 1, 2, and there's one right in there. All are 17 millimeters. I'm gonna get those out, and we'll get going. Okay, now that I got the 2 nuts and the bolt off, all I need to do is just push down on this arm. Just push down on it, and then pull out the strut. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do, if you look right in there, you will see that that black thing right there is actually a rubber seal that goes onto the transmission to keep the oil from going out. And there's another seal right on the other side. Right here, there's also a black rubber seal. So what I'm going to do is get some grease, and I'm going to just give it a quick swirl on the inside of both seals, just so that there's no direct metal to rubber contact. Okay, so now that I got the grease on, what I'm going to do is start installing the shaft. Okay, so looking at the shaft, you see that there's a little hole right here. This goes to the outside, and the other side goes onto the inside. It's also got this little ring here so that you can't really mess it up. So install this side first. You're going to push it in. It might take some time before you can clip it in perfectly, but with a little bit of patience, you'll get it in. Okay, guys, so another quick tip. Before you install your CV axle, make sure your dust covers are attached. This small one goes on right onto here, right onto there. And this big one, it attaches like so, with the outer lip facing inside onto here. Make sure that they are either already attached to where they're supposed to go, or If they got stuck on the old ones, take them off and put them back on because they protect the rubber seals. So make sure your dust shields are on, then you can put the drive shaft in. Okay, now that I got it in, I've already put the ball joint back into place so it's all aligned. And all that's left is to put this nut back in. This nut is right here. It's a 30 millimeter. And you'll know when you get it on, get the drive shaft in because it's going to line with the teeth and it'll just come out through here. So I'm going to quickly put this on and then we'll torque it down. Okay guys, so here are the torque specs. For the 3 bolts that we screwed in, they screw under here. These 3 17 millimeter bolts, from what I found, should be torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. So these 3 are 47 foot-pounds. This big bolt right here, I found that it says about 137 foot-pounds for this guy. If the torque specs are right, this one should be down to 137 foot-pounds. However, this bolt, you cannot tighten him until you have at least one side of the car down. Basically so that this thing doesn't turn, because it turns right now. Even if you put it into gear, it'll still turn over. It's not going to be enough to stop it. So what I do, I put one wheel on, lower the car so that this side doesn't turn, and then tighten this side, and then swap sides and do the other side. So this is 137 foot-pounds, but you can't do it until you can lock this down. You could put a screwdriver in here if you really wanted to, but it's up to you. Okay, in case some of you were wondering, how would you do this? How would you hold this thing down with the screwdriver? Well, basically what you do, you have slots right in here. If you look, you can see that there's slots in here. So what you do, you insert the screwdriver into one of those slots, and it holds in place. Then with your torque wrench, align it, and there, it's holding itself. It's not turning anymore. So you can turn it until it goes. And that right there was 80 foot-pounds right there. So you do that to 137 foot-pounds, and that's how you do it. Okay, so last thing to do is to put on these safety locker things. It goes over the bolt like this, and then what you do, you just put the pin right through here, and this basically keeps the bolt from coming off. If you notice that the holes are not lining up, like if you look right here, it's actually perfect almost, where it lines up with the hole, you might need to tighten it or loosen it just a little bit to make the holes align. But once you get that, all you have to do is take your pin, run it through, and then once you get it through, take like a pair of needle nose pliers and bend the ends so that the pin doesn't come out. Okay, so now that I got it bent, this is about how it should look. As you can see, I got the longer of the 2 bent in, and that should be good enough. If you really want to, you can bend the other one in, but the other one is shorter. In my case, it's shorter. Some of them, they come the same size, so you can bend both of them. But in my case, one is shorter, one's longer. The longer one you bend, and that's what it should look like when you're done.